Hi there, Maria here. I am breaking open a new art journal, which is lots of fun. It's a Canson mixed media journal, 140-pound pages or paper. I'm going to make a painting of a mermaid on this first page. So it's going to be a lot of blues and greens in this painting. So I'm using a baby wipe to smooth it out to get it like soft and watery looking. Little cobalt blue at the bottom. You could do the whole page one color, but I wanted to just get a little contrast, so I'm using a turquoise that I am adding some water to get it really soft. So that could be underwater or it could be a sky. That's up to you, of course. And some white blends everything together. Now I'm gonna make a mess, so getting some old newspaper. I got a blue FW acrylic ink that I'm going to spray and drip on this page. So you're gonna need some paper towels and something on the table to protect it. That also absorbs some of the inks. I'm not too worried about the mess, and I like the random look of the sprayed paint or ink, as you can see here. And I'm using a graphite pencil to draw out the figure of the mermaid. Now it doesn't have to be anatomically completely correct. I like it to be pretty proportional and set up like a regular drawing, but if it's not perfect, that's okay too. I'm kind of winging it here. It's hard to think of the dimensions of a mermaid because her tail will be a lot longer than the legs would be. But there are no rules as long as you like it, as long as it feels right to you, then go with it. So here I had a super long tail and I realized really it's too long for the body. So might have to try a few times to get the right proportions. Or at least proportions that look good to you. I'm trying to figure out how long the legs would be and then add the tail to that. So making a larger torso. And a shorter tail. It usually always turn out okay in the end. You just have to keep going and not worry too much about the outcome and what it looks like. So I have her here, she's holding a heart. So I'm drawing in the arms and the folded hands over the heart. Well, they're not folded, they're holding the heart actually. And then I have to have a head that looks somewhat proportional. A bright green tail or tail end. I like green and blue together. I decided to go with a turquoise on the entire tail because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it, and the pencil marks were so strong I uh, erased some of them just because they would show through the paint. Now I'm gonna mix up some skin tone that is portrait pink, and I had some unbleached titanium white. Mix that up. It's a little too pink, so I'm putting some burnt sienna. Just a very little, just a tad. Oh, that's a nice tan color. You can start out somewhere. You can always fix the skin tone later a little bit. And here I'm erasing a bunch of the lines. I thought it turned out a little too dark and too brown pinkish, so I lightened it up later on. Sometimes with body parts and skin tone, you have to go over it several times to get where you want it to be. It's very difficult to get it right in the first go. I have to fill in the hands, and I'm drawing some faint lines for the arms. And I was gonna do a darker outline with some burnt sienna. my brush wasn't cooperating real well. So that's another layer. I don't want really harsh lines, so you could use a marker to outline, but then it's gonna look harsh. It's a lot of fiddling until you get it right. Here I'm using a paint marker to start painting the scales. They're not going to be completely even, but it's actually just need the hint or the idea of scales. It doesn't have to be so sharply delineated. Trying to figure out if I should paint the edges, like to make the tail really stand out against the soft background. I liked it to blend in a little more, but instead of standing out too much, I'm using some other markers to embellish her hip area, and as you can see, I ended up painting the rest of the tail blue, very faint blue. You can still see the markings of the scales. And here I'm painting the heart red. I'm still working on the outlines. On the scales or the tail, I end up using diluted blue paint all around the tail. That's softer than the markers. And here I'm ending up using lighter skin tone. That is the unbleached titanium white. So I'm gonna do the hair the same way I did the background with the acrylic inks. So I have actually a blue green and the same blue that I had for the background. It turned out messier than I had anticipated. And when with too much water, you don't get enough detail. So I ended up putting more inks on here and kind of smearing it around a little. Some more green. And a little bit of water. I'm just kind of using a paper towel to mess it around a little. I have to let that dry, but I used a toothpick to try and spread out some paint, but it didn't work out real well. Here you can see I made the hair bigger. Here I'm making an outline of a fish. I lost battery on the camera, or memory. So as you can see, I painted the fish orange, and the facial features were painted with markers only. And so it's very simple. I didn't really get into the face too much. And here I'm outlining the fish features with black ink. And the hands, I did outline the hands a little bit. A necklace of orange to tie in the fish. And I cut out a piece of doily and stuck that on her head as a crown. Mermaid crown. You have to have a mermaid crown, right? And then I used the marker to draw out some more details for the hair. I really like that better. It doesn't look as messy. And drew a little outline around the head just to make the features and the head part stand out a little more. Brightening up the background just a tad to make the blue stand out more. That was pretty much it. I drew some seaweed on the bottom in green with a marker, and used another blue marker to make stand out more. It's simple. It's just a simple painting on a blue background. I used this big white marker, Faber-Castell, to add some like air bubbles and dots. And that add a little more detail to the painting. The white on her arms, it's a pair of shells, like bracelets. A little detail go a long way. You don't have to go crazy with it. I love dots. Well, there it is, pretty much. Thank you so much for watching.